Ferris Bueller's Day Off tells the story of the titular Ferris, played by Matthew Broderick. Yay!
He deliberately hurt my feelings.
Who fakes sick to get out of going to school, much to the dismay of his mistreated sister Jeannie, played by Jennifer Grey. The rest of the film is the John Hughes standard antics of Ferris and his buddy Cameron, played by Alan Ruck, and his girlfriend Sloane, played by Mia Sara, having fun and wreaking havoc, whilst also constantly pulling the wool over everybody's eyes to maintain the facade for the entire day before returning home just in time. And this was the movie that briefly tricked the entire world into believing that Matthew Broderick could actually act. It didn't last long.
Oh, shut up.
Legend John Hughes, who would later create the iconic Home Alone, began writing this similar story in 1985, the screenplay being written in less than 1 week. He was reportedly in a complete trance, writing non-stop, and would end up filming practically the first draft of the script. The original cut of the movie was around 2 hours and 45 minutes long, but many scenes were deleted, including a strip club sequence and Ferris originally having 2 other siblings, both younger, but they were all cut out completely. The benefit was that the film was all set in one day, so this meant no costume changes were needed, which meant less continuity errors in editing. Hughes always had Broderick in mind when writing the screenplay because he's a big fan of bad actors.
What the hell is wrong with you?
Despite this, Jim Carrey, John Cusack, Tom Cruise, Rob Lowe, Johnny Depp, Eric Stoltz, and the infinitely more perfect for the role Michael J. Fox were all considered. And even Alan Ruck tried out for this part before being selected as Cameron. Others considered for the role were Anthony Michael Hall, who turned it down as he didn't want to be typecast, and John Candy tried out but got rejected as he was too old. Molly Ringwald tried out for the part of Sloane, but Hughes instead went for Mia Sara, despite her rather surprising audition. However, Mia almost didn't get the part because at the same time she was also auditioning for the part of Sarah in Labyrinth. Ruck was cast as Cameron after failing to win a role in the previously released Breakfast Club, but the part was originally offered to Emilio Estevez, who turned it down. Jeffrey Jones was cast as the douchebag principal who goes out of his way to bust Ferris throughout the entire film after his performance in Amadeus. John Hughes took Jones to meet his old vice principal, who was the inspiration for the role, to study him as closely as possible. Others considered were Paul Gleason and Tom Skerritt. Hughes also offered the part of a garage attendant to the late great Bill Paxton, but he turned it down because the role was too small for his liking. He was in The Terminator for like 20 seconds.
Go piss up a flagpole.
But he later admitted to regretting this decision, as Hughes never offered him a part in any of his movies again. The director, who's often known for shooting in his home of Chicago, had this opportunity to film as much of the city as possible, usually being restricted in his previous work. Filming spanned between September the 9th, 1985 until the end of October the next month, before moving to Los Angeles and wrapping up on November the 22nd. The famous parade scene took several days to film and was even advertised to get extras involved. Much of the dance sequence was actually trimmed down though, as Broderick injured his knee in other scenes when he's running through backyards. He was unable to do many knee spins that famous choreographer Kenny Ortega had prepared for him. Because of this injury, a lot of the choreography was scrapped and they just improvised most of the sequences on the spot. Ferris Bueller's Day Off was released on June the 11th, 1986 to become the 10th highest grossing that year, earning over $70 million in the United States, receiving mostly positive reviews. Although Gene Siskel doesn't make any sense.
Ferris Bueller doesn't do anything much fun.
Going to sports games, parades, driving around in sports cars, going out for fancy meals with your friends isn't fun? Your childhood sucked. What did you do for fun, Siskel? What did you want Broderick to do? Go to a library and read?
So what?
Matthew Broderick was nominated for a Best Actor Golden Globe, but walked away empty-handed. Bravo picked the film as the 54th funniest in history, and Entertainment Weekly selected it as the 10th best high school film. However, the movie caused a huge academic backlash, and many teachers felt like the film depicted them as morons with no sense of humor who just want to stop kids from enjoying themselves.
Well, yeah.
And hey, it obviously struck Cupid because the couple who played Broderick's parents actually got married in real life after this movie. Aww, that's so sweet. And they ended up getting divorced in 1992. Oh. But Matthew Broderick and his on-screen sister Jennifer Grey ended up dating and even getting engaged. Aww, that's so sweet. Unfortunately, while they were in Ireland, they were both involved in a car crash where the 2 people in the other car were tragically killed. Oh.
Watch your mouth this time.
I love this film because it really does show you a teenager's imagination gone wild. It's a great fantasy despite being beyond ridiculous and completely unrealistic. Ferris Bueller is ridiculous and it knows it's ridiculous. They even point out how unlikely these events are.
4,000 restaurants in the downtown area. I picked the one my father goes to.
The film is having fun and it goes all out. It gives you ridiculous event after ridiculous event and it's honestly so much fun to watch. This is the feel-good movie. The parade scene is a hoot. And fun fact for you, the construction worker and window washer that are dancing weren't actually part of the film. They were genuinely dancing to the music and John Hughes found it so funny he told his crew to film them. It's a simple idea but pretty much anyone can relate to it and that's why it works so well. Who hasn't faked sick to get out of school or work? It's a universal subject that's incredibly relatable to everyone alive. Broderick even starts giving the audience tips on how to fake sick. The film has a lot of charm and is genuinely really funny. I mean, this kid has a day off school and he goes to a baseball game, goes to a parade, steals a sports car, busts his girlfriend out of school, dines at a fancy restaurant, goes to an art museum. The most I'd do is play Sonic and watch wrestling, maybe have a wank.
Shame on you.
Hell, Ferris is so popular that everyone buys him gifts. The police force even know about him. He's the Chuck Norris of this universe and it's brilliant. There's a subplot with Cameron which kind of holds the film together. He's neglected by his parents and it's his dad's car that they decide to take without asking. He's against the idea but is pressured by Ferris, but when they return he decides that he's had enough of being afraid of his father, wrecks the car but accidentally sends it out the window to its destruction. But he realizes that life is too short to take it so seriously. The film shows that he's quite jealous of Ferris and his carefree nature, but he never really grows bitter because of it. It's more admiration, which I like. There's no tension between the two. There's also an interesting fan theory that this entire movie is just Cameron's imagination. Just hear me out.
This is all news to me.
Usually I call BS on things like this, but it's often believed that Cameron has created this Ferris character to be this carefree persona that he lacks to deal with his parental trauma. He's sick in this film, so it's possible that he's dreaming the entire thing while he's home in bed. Ruined the film for you, didn't I? I mean, it does explain this. At one point he freaks out and enters a catatonic state. Once he wakes up, Ferris's girlfriend Sloane asks if he saw her getting changed, and he apparently did. And she and Ferris find it funny rather than creepy. If he's dreaming, it's the only explanation as to why they would react this way.
Listen, will you calm down, please?
I love the comedy. The fact that absolutely everything works in Ferris's favor so he doesn't get caught. His dad sees him and then in 2 seconds flat, Sloane replaces him and he somehow doesn't recognize his son's girlfriend's face. Jeannie drives into him and their mum still misses him, but to be fair, his sister just drives faster to try to beat him home instead of just, "Look, Mum, Ferris is there."
I think you're wrong.
Ferris is running alongside his car and manages to escape by running through complete strangers' houses. It's all hilariously done. And Ferris has everything planned. I mean, he hacks the computers at school from home to change his attendance. He makes calls to students using sound effects to sell the fact that he's vomiting. Cameron rings up the president pretending to be Sloane's dad. The teacher obviously thinks it's Ferris and starts insulting him, but Ferris then calls up as himself to debunk this. Though that joke does drag on a bit too much. But anyway, he makes up a fake story about his girlfriend's grandmother dying to sneak her out of school and even rigs her phone line to the funeral home to trick the principal. He's got a mannequin in his bed with fake snoring sound effects every time the door opens, inspiring a buttload of copycat cliches. When they get to the posh restaurant, he claims to be someone else on the list when the owner refuses to serve them. He pretends to ring the cops in anger but calls another phone with his girlfriend confirming his identity. Don't really know what they were going to do if the real guy then showed up. But he never does, never mind. He has a voice recording rigged to the doorbell to trick anyone who pays a visit. He has planned absolutely everything. He's the smartest guy alive. As much as I don't like Matthew Broderick as an actor, he actually is pretty good in this. Although he does have some bad moments. Especially during the emotional scene with Cameron, Broderick is terrible. It probably is Broderick's best performance though. There are some bad reads, but in others he's actually quite charming, likeable, goofy and inspiring, so he's not all bad.
That's it. I want out of this family.
What's John Hughes' fetish with neglected kids who have awful parents? And much like Home Alone 2, Ferris just so happens to be in the same restaurant as his father. But my question is more, how does he not recognize his own son's voice? I mean, he's given this long-ass speech while he's in the cubicle and he doesn't even realize. And of course, he just so happens to be able to steal his cab, which is then replaced instantly without him noticing. Again, the film embraces its silliness and is completely self-aware. Despite the awesomeness of the film, some parts are really predictable, like here. It's not Ferris. 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 It's not. Oh, look, it's not Ferris. And in that 5-second appearance, she was already better than Matthew Broderick.
I seriously doubt it.
But why the hell would Ferris even risk doing this in the middle of a parade? I mean, anyone could see him. He's supposed to be really smart. In fact, this is just moments after they come across his dad. He's now in his office, but they don't know that. His dad starts dancing to the music, and obviously he wouldn't be able to recognize him from that distance, but surely he would have heard him say this a few seconds earlier.
Ladies and gentlemen, You're such a wonderful crowd.
And recognized his voice. And I do love how dedicated this principal is, and I mean it. He is going this far out of his way to hunt him down. But what the hell is John Hughes' fetish for dog flap gags in his movies? Oh well, at least here they actually had the budget to show the animal. But how come she doesn't recognize her own principal? This doesn't make any sense. Some people have defended this, claiming that she was looking for her brother, so she was just shocked and reacted normally. Now, I get that, but it's the fact that afterwards she doesn't realize, oh crap, that was my principal. Instead, she calls the police, describes him, says there's an intruder, and later on acknowledges who he is, but only because he left his wallet in the kitchen.
A guy broke into the house.
Your principal. It was your principal. I also don't get the whole Cameron catatonic state thing. He claims that it was meditation or something, and then he pretends to drown so Ferris can save him. What? No, it's entirely pointless. He just wanted to watch Ferris's girlfriend naked, let's be honest here. But then again, despite saying he wants to marry Sloane one day, and despite being in a rush to get home on time, he still has the time to perv over these women, so hey, he deserves it. And then, wait, what the hell? Is that Charlie Sheen?
Drugs?
Yep, it's Charlie Sheen. In order to prepare for this look, Sheen actually stayed awake for a full 48 hours straight. But Sheen actually hated this performance, and despite only having one scene, he stated that every time he saw it, he wanted to punch himself in the mouth. It's actually quite an intriguing character, and I really like it. So when Jeannie calls the police about the intruder, they don't believe her, and she gets taken in for wasting police time. There, she meets Sheen, and he's the only one who actually gives her any kind of attention and respect. They swap spit, but she starts to get all giggly, and it's actually really cute. For just one scene, Sheen actually steals it. In the early drafts of the script, however, this character actually had an entire backstory to him, and I would have loved to see more of this. One scene and I wanted more, although they don't really get off on the right foot.
Why don't you put your thumb up your butt?
Oh, awesome comeback.
Blow yourself.
This girl sucks! I love the ending too. Just as he's about to make it in time, he's stopped by the principal, but his sister, I guess after Sheen massaged her tongue and made her happy, finally saves him. And then literally feeds him to the dog! Jesus. And even then he nearly messes up the plan, he only just makes it. I think it'd be quite funny though if afterwards he got caught, but it was for something stupid like he left his ID at the baseball game or something, I don't know. But what the hell's with the credits scene? The principal boards the school bus and sits with this girl who looks like Patricia Arquette's offspring. She offers him a gummy bear, it just drags on forever and it's entirely pointless. I don't get the joke. Oh, and then the post-credit scene to inspire Deadpool later. In fact, Ferris breaks the fourth wall and talks to the camera throughout the entire film, and it really works. So maybe Deadpool is actually a lot more inspired by Ferris Bueller than we'd like to think. Something to think about. The movie was so iconic, Barbara Bush used it in her 1990 commencement address. It launched the career of Ben Stein, who played one of the teachers, who many still quote to this day, and it continues to leave an impact. It was such a hit, Broderick and Hughes remained in touch after the film's release and even considered a follow-up. Although a sequel never happened, a TV series followed in 1990, serving as a prequel, starring Charlie Schlatter as Ferris, and even Jennifer Aniston as his sister. The pilot episode had Schlatter break the fourth wall by cutting up a cardboard cutout of Broderick, claiming that he hated his performance. The show was cancelled after just 13 episodes. I would have actually loved to see a part 2. I mean, it doesn't have to be the same plot of Another Day Off, it could be a different title. Bill and Ted had different names, but I feel like there was more to these characters to explore, especially Cameron. We never really got closure on his family issues, so I do think this is a really big missed opportunity on their part. But regardless, Ferris Bueller's Day Off remains a classic, and one that I give a wholehearted thumbs up.